This is the Taylor headstone. This is the Adams family. This is Randy, Kathy, and young Chris Adams. Don't know where Shannon is at the moment, but I'm sure she'll appear. And we have Jan and Clayton Smith, and this is little Brittany with that's Melanie Smith and Dennis Biebrick's children. There I am with Wendy Rosenbaum. And this is the Deemer family in Salzburg, Pennsylvania, and that's Mary Kay, Merle, Dan, and there's Aunt Marge and her daughter-in-law, Livy. This is Merle, Mary Kay, and Marge Deemer. I'm talking to someone, I can't tell who it is. There's my mother. That was a nice picture, taken in Salzburg. Here's another one with my mother and laughing with Uncle Merle. This picture coming up is on the occasion of Marge and Merle Deemer's wedding anniversary. The party was held in Salzburg. And there's Kim. She's walking and holding hands with her cousin Eric. It was at this occasion that she told me that she planned to marry her cousin Eric. So glad, Joe, that she waited for you. And there's Doug and Dan Deemer. Not a good picture of Dan there in the shadows. It was a fun party out there in Salzburg. These are the old pictures, some of the oldest we have. This is the Taylor family, my grandfather's family. That's Philippa, who is Virgil, my grandfather's twin. Next to her is Bessie, my great-grandmother. And then there's Virgil. And then there's Marjorie, who eventually married Clarence Summers. And the great-great-grandfather, Cyril, married to Miss Bessie. Philippa married Alfred Elliker, and she and Alfred had two daughters, Gwen and Gladys. I didn't get to see much of Gwen, but she was one of my favorite people too. Wedding photo of Virgil and Florence Agnes Burlingame. They apparently met at a church. I think it was the Presbyterian church where the Taylors attended. And there's Grandma Taylor, Florence, on one of the horses in Salzburg, Pennsylvania, where she was raised. She was raised by Aunt Caroline, and that's a story for another time. I like this picture. I call it the Bathing Beauties. This is the way bathing suits looked back in Grandma's time. And there's another photo taken on her wedding day. She was separated from her sister when, after her mother died, and the children had to be raised by other people because their father had gone blind. They did have a baby brother named Tom, but he died when he was 2. Oh, and there's a picture of Marjorie Taylor Summers. She was a wonderful, kind lady. They never had any children. If I understand it, she was pretty sickly most of her life, but very sweet. I'm not sure who this picture is. It's in the album, and I'm too lazy to get up and go and look at the album to see whose name is there. There is Frank Rufus Burlingame, my great-grandfather. He was the one that was blind. And I believe that might be my mother, Marjorie Estelle. And there she is with her mother. We call her Grandma Taylor. And there is Frank and baby Estelle with her mother Florence. and Virgil and Charlie. And the guy with the glasses on the right, that's their father, my grandfather, Virgil John Taylor. It's nice that we have some of the older pictures. That must be Florence on the right, but I'm not sure who those children are. Once again, I apologize for not getting up and looking at the pictures. Ah, that must be my mom, Marjorie Estelle on the right, and I think that was Charlie. I know there's my mother on the right, and those were probably friends of hers, possibly family members, but I'm pretty sure they were all taken in Salzburg. Mom spent many summers in Salzburg, Pennsylvania, where my grandmother was raised. Her mother, I should say. Frank had a sister named Neva, she's on the left, and her half-sister Daisy, Stella, is on the right. They lived in California and Texas. So in those days, kids didn't live necessarily together with their siblings. Families were often separated. And there's my grandfather, Virgil John, on the left, with Ina, my grandmother's half-sister, as it were, and her husband, Clyde. And there's Grandma Taylor, Florence, on the right, taken in Salzburg, Pennsylvania. Someday you must read the story of Florence's early life and how she ended up in Salzburg, Pennsylvania, when she was really born and raised originally in Castana, Iowa. That's where I had to write to get a copy of her birth certificate. And there's Clyde and Ina, and I think those are brothers, the brother and the sister-in-law of Ina. Ina had many brothers. Oh, and there's my mother on the left, and I'm not sure who the ladies are on the right. That's a nice Deemer family picture. Merle, Marjorie, Mary Kay, John, and little Danny in the front. John passed away maybe 10 years ago. Danny 2 or 3 years ago. So there's just Mary Kay left. Her mom and dad, of course, passed away quite a few years ago. I have very fond memories of all of them. And there's another picture of the same family with the father-in-law, Clyde Lemon. It looks like it might have been taken at our home in South Euclid. I'm not sure, though. I don't see the address by the door. Oh, I can tell. That's Marjorie, Merle, and young John Deemer. We used to make fun of him with this Pittsburgh accent. This is very typical of family get-togethers in Salzburg. The lady on the left is Philippa Elliker. She was Gladys's mother. And then there's my mother and other neighbor ladies. I see Gladys Smith there. I see my grandmother. And of course, Marjorie Deemer standing up there in the back with Florence. That looks like my mother. Oh, and there's a picture of my mother. I believe this was a dress that she made, although we have another recording where she said, I didn't make many of my dresses, I only made one in home economics. So I will eventually get that videotape digitized. And here are the 3 siblings: Virgil, Charlie, and Estelle. That could have been my mom's high school picture. She looks more like Michelle than me. And once again, Clyde and Ina, Virgil. I forget who the lady is in the middle there next to Ina. This is a picture of the Taylor family and Smiths. There is Alfred Elliker, Philippa's husband, and her mother standing down in front. There's Virgil, my mother, and Aunt Marjorie Summers with my brother Doug and I down in the front. Here's my dad on one of his motorcycles, and there he is with my mother and his grandmother who lived in St. Louis, I believe. Didn't see much of her. I wish I could remember her name. Well, her name was Anderson. Her last name was Anderson, but I don't remember ever meeting her. There's Granddad Young, Mom and Dad on their wedding day. Granddad Young was one of my favorite people. He lived with us for many years. There's my mother and her mother-in-law, Mabel Elizabeth. They lived in Mayfield Heights, and Mom lived with them when she was pregnant and until my dad got home from the war. Oh, there's Dad again on one of his motorcycles. And there he is holding me. I got a lot of attention since I was the first baby after he came home from the war. And I don't know if that's Tom in the picture, but mostly I can see that the picture was taken because of the animals down in front. There's Dad and I on his motorcycle. Spent many an hour riding that bike. Even went to Salzburg on it several times. I sat on the back and my brother sat on the front on the tank. There's the famous TY license plate on Dad's car. He always had TY7. I don't remember why this one was TY37, but there's Doug and I and Mom. I wonder who has that license plate. Doug, do you have it? The old, his dad's last TY7 license plate? That would be a good picture for the photo album. Quite a piece of memorabilia. There's Granddad Young with Doug on the left and me on the right. There's a picture taken of my mom and dad for the church directory in South Euclid. They were members of the South Euclid United Methodist Church. And there's another photo of Mom and Dad on their wedding day in November 1941. Here's a nice switch to the more recent. This is Doug, who reminds me a lot of my son Tom, and that's probably his high school picture. Good-looking kid, wasn't he? I guess he still is, now that I think of it. And there he is with one of his airplanes. He and his wife Linda lived in Kentucky for a while. I don't remember how long. But they were married, I think, in 1970 or 71. There they are standing next to their mobile home in Kentucky. My mom and dad went down to visit them there. Said it was a very lovely mobile home. And there they are again, the two of them, Doug and Linda, and can't remember the dogs' names. Oh, there's Linda with her graduation gown. She graduated from Baldwin-Wallace. 1964 saw us going to California as a high school graduation present for me. And this is here at Disneyland and the famous teacup ride. This picture, sets of pictures is of the Smith family. There's much younger Elwood and wife Gladys Elliker Smith. There's the first two children of Gladden Wood. There was Neil on the left and Dwayne on the right. Probably this picture was taken in Norwalk, Ohio, where they lived the first part of their marriage. And there's the family again, only later we have little Melanie on the left and Philippa in the middle with the two boys, Neil and Dwayne. It was a standing event, receiving their Christmas card, showing how everyone had grown over the years. We always look forward to getting those Christmas cards. You see the series, how the kids are getting taller. And then finally, there was a picture coming up here where they're all about the same height. We always look forward. And this was Jan and Dwayne's wedding picture. And there's another Smith family picture. There's Neil with his wife, and I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. They had a son named Jason, and Jason passed away in the last couple of years. There's Philippa and Dennis Wilkerson, their wedding. Now this picture was supposed to be of the kids outside of the Wilkerson wedding, but I'm not sure that's possible because there's Andy and Emily Sapp, and I'm not sure how they ended up in the picture. But you have a nice picture of the young children, and it was probably a wedding. I just don't remember which one. There are the Deemers, John, his wife, and Merle and Marjorie and Mary Kay. Of course, as I said, I think young Sandy is still alive, and Mary Kay. There's a nice picture of the Charles Taylor family with David, Nancy, Paul, Marilyn, and Chuck. There's David and Nancy. They were staying at our house for a while in South Euclid. My mother had baked a cake. It was probably for David on the occasion of a birthday. It looks like it was some sort of an animal. There's probably Nancy Taylor's high school picture. And there's Nancy and her husband Rod on their wedding day getting ready to cut the cake. This is a nice family photo of the Taylors in Syracuse, Indiana. Here's Joe and Wendy Rosenbaum on the occasion of their wedding. I wish I could remember the year. There are her two sisters, Bonnie on the left and Kathy on the right, with Doug and Linda in the middle. And the girls were in their bridesmaids' dresses. They look good in red, don't they? Oh, and there's Virgil and Beverly in the middle. Nice picture. And here are Deemers and my folks at the occasion of my wedding to Jerry. And there's Tom and Michelle, and even my grandparents were there. This was 1970. Not sure how this picture got into the sequence, but it was probably one of those family get-togethers out in Salzburg, Pennsylvania. This picture is of the Sapp family down in Virginia. My father is in the picture as well, but it's probably Alva, Jane's husband, taking the picture. There's Doug and I in the picture with Tom and Beth, twins, Dave Sapp on the right, and Pat Sapp on the left, with Beth down in the front on the left. Don't know where Jimmy is. There's cousin Tommy Sapp. He died young, with diabetes, and didn't take very good care of himself. And there's Jane Sapp there in the middle with my mom and dad, and we're all out there visiting Jim and Meredith in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. There's Meredith, Jim's wife, and me. There's Jim and Meredith with me snooping around in the refrigerator. Also Lawrenceville, New Jersey. Vicki was there on that occasion. They're looking at pictures. And there's Beth in the middle with Aunt Gladys standing over her. with Grandmother Taylor on the right. This is a nice picture of my kids when they were preteens. My mom's on the right with Michelle, Tom, Eric, and that could be Scott Taylor on the left, but I'm not sure. It's not real clear. And of course, I don't remember what it was there for. Here's another picture of Gladys standing next to her father, called him Uncle Al, with Neil and Dwayne in the picture. Oh, and there's the Deemer boys with me with the, check that 60s hairdo. Oh my heavens. Don't I look happy? And the Deemer boys again with their dad, Merle. Marge, Mary Kay, and my mom. Doug and I standing in front of a bridge by the river, probably the Kiski River in Salzburg, Pennsylvania. Been a lot of good summer times out there. This is a cute little picture. Had to be taken in Salzburg on the occasion of one of the family get-togethers, because there's the Smith boys and the Deemer children as well. Here's my grandmother Florence sitting next to Clyde Lemon. He was a hoot. And there's me, Beverly, Marilyn, my mother, and my grandmother Florence. And here are the three of us, Mom, me, and Doug, standing in front of probably the house on Clinton Avenue. And the gentleman, there's Merle, Clyde, and that's Elwood, and my dad. So that had to be Salzburg. There's Danny Deemer and me. And look at the table set behind us, so that has to be Salzburg.